News Central now this hour begins in the oil sector, where the president of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has presented the first sample of premium motor spirit produced at his refinery in Ibeju-Lekki, Lagos. Speaking during a broadcast on Tuesday, Dangote announced that the 650,000 barrel capacity refinery had successfully conducted a test run of the product. He praised Nigerians and President Bola Tinubu for supporting growth and development, especially the Naira for crude policy, which he said would stabilize the currency. Now, Dangote emphasized that the refinery would enable Nigeria to accurately track fuel consumption by monitoring every truck and ship. He also stated that the refinery would meet the fuel demands of Nigeria and the wider sub-Saharan Africa region.
I want to personally also thank Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for creating this idea of Naira for crude and also Naira for the product. Doing that, it will give a lot of stability for the Naira, where now you remove 40% of the demand of dollars in the market, and that will actually stabilize the market. But that's not it. As you know, there's quite a lot of what you call round tripping, where people now do documentation and the fuel does not come into Nigeria, and this is a fact. So right now, as we have this refinery working, it will show the true consumption of Nigeria. We can track every single loaded trucks, and we will try as much as possible to track the loaded ships. Trucks, we can tell you where they are. Just like now in some of the products that we do, we can tell you exactly the consumption pattern and co. But that is a discussion for another day. Today's discussion is just to celebrate and to thank God Almighty for bringing us to this stage of now producing gasoline. And I know that a lot of people have not actually believed that we'll be able to deliver.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian government has dismissed reports suggesting that the Ministry of Petroleum has directed the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the NNPCL, to sell fuel at 1,000 naira, far above the approved pump price. The false report claimed that Minister of State for Oil and Gas, Heineken Lopobiri, gave the directive. In a statement on Tuesday, Lopobiri's aide, Nemeka Okafor, condemned the report as fabricated and aimed at causing confusion in the oil sector. Okafor clarified that the government has never interfered with petroleum pricing or directed a price increase. She called the claims baseless and malicious and challenged anyone with evidence to come forward. Now, Okafor emphasized that NNPCL operates independently, governed by its board of directors under the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA. To the lingering fuel scarcity, Nigerians have continued to lament the continuous petrol scarcity that is currently plaguing the country as it now enters its 8th week. Vehicles continue to queue for hours outside petrol stations in anticipation of buying petrol, regardless of the price. Now, while on the side of the government, the NNPCL has acknowledged that it owes a significant debt to petrol suppliers. Our correspondent, Bernard Akede, visited some petrol stations in Lagos and filmed this.
As the lingering petrol scarcity enters its 8th week, it seems nothing has changed. Long queues can still be seen outside petrol stations as Nigerians get frustrated even more.
I wonder what is happening in this country. What are we gaining from the federal government, if not for fuel? If they don't know what to do, let them leave the office.
I've been here for over 2 hours. And the way it is, as you can see, we don't know when we are going to leave this place.
I'm supposed to be in my office by now. See, look at me queue for a fuel, because I need to get a fuel to move to VI. We are working.
The people continue to lament on how this unending scarcity has been affecting their businesses and lives in general. They once again call on the government to seek a permanent solution to this hardship.
Me as a taxpayer, before in my house, where I stay, normally I pay 1,000 naira as thief here, going and coming. But now, sincerely, I pay almost 2,000 naira a day.
I believe if they really want to do this thing, first thing to do is to enable all this refinery. Let our refinery be functioning.
Why can't you look for a way of reducing this wahala for us? Because we are facing a lot of problems. When you want to go home, problem. When you are coming to go to the office, another problem. So for how long are we? This will not even make us to live long in this country.
Weeks ago, the cause of the scarcity was blamed on logistic challenges, and in a virtual interview with News Central, the National Publicity Secretary, Ipman, gave the same reason for the continued crisis.
Importation problem, road transportation, and we are not producing petroleum products here. So everything, we are sourcing petroleum products from outside the country. So it depends whenever the vessels arrive, whatever hiccups the vessel encounter on the way, it will also definitely affect our local petroleum refined products supply.
Most recently, however, the NNPCL had been accused of owing suppliers. The company eventually responded with a statement signed by its Chief Corporate Communications Officer, Olufemi Shonaye. The statement reads, NNPC Limited has acknowledged recent reports in national newspapers regarding the company's significant debt to petrol suppliers. This financial strain has placed considerable pressure on the company and poses a threat to the sustainability of fuel supply. In line with the Petroleum Industry Act (PIA), NNPC Limited remains dedicated to its role as the supplier of last resort, ensuring nationwide energy security. We are actively collaborating with relevant government agencies and other stakeholders to maintain a consistent supply of petroleum products nationwide.
From the statement issued by the NNPCL, no particular time has been given as to when this fuel crisis will eventually come to an end. Nigerians have to wait and see and endure for a little longer. The question now is, how much more can Nigerians endure? In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
Right now, we'll come back to Lagos, where our correspondent Bernard Akede is still on the streets, feeling the pulse of residents as the scarcity of petrol bites even harder. Bernard, good afternoon. Where are you in the city, and what would you say is the latest on the scarcity of petroleum motor spirit? Do we have Bernard? Bernard, can you confirm you can hear me, please? All right, while we wait for Bernard to join, we also have Amadine Uyi on standby in the Federal Capital Territory, and he will be giving us the situation update from Abuja. Hello, Amadine. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you can hear me, what is the latest on the scarcity of PMS in Abuja?
We've gone around several petrol dispensing stations, petrol filling stations around the city center. We have met two situations on ground. Number one is either you meet very long queues where the drivers are struggling to buy the product, or number two, you meet empty filling stations like the one behind us, which is a very, very popular fuel filling station, Total Energy at the area 11. But what is common at the location of these filling stations are black market sellers who are making the best out of the situation, making bricks business from what they have seen on ground, and trying to patronize those who do not have the patience to spend long hours on the queue to purchase fuel.
Right. And also, how are the residents coping with the situation? Because obviously people have to go about their daily businesses. There are people who now obviously choose either to go to work or to queue for fuel. How has this affected the residents in Abuja?
It's a very difficult situation from what some of them have told us, as many are visibly upset, saying that despite the removal of fuel subsidy, they thought the end of the long fuel queues with this has come, but they have now realized that Nigeria is not moving forward in terms of solving its fuel problem, that they are forced to buy the product above the official price, which is supposed to hover between 620 to about 700 naira. Some of them say they are buying at 1,000 and others at over 1,000. There are other filling stations also who are also selling at what they call black market price. But from those who I have spoken to, they are visibly upset and annoyed that they can't buy the product and is affecting their businesses.
All right, Amadine, we all understand that Abuja is the capital city of the country, and of course it's the seat of power, and that's basically where most of the decisions are made. But have we heard anything from the leaders or those in power regarding the situation, even if not for the entire nation, but for the FCT?
It's still the answer that the NNPC gave their statement yesterday, saying they are facing a difficult situation. They are in dire straits, especially as they are being forced to own marketers and they are funneling their operating profits to catering for this extra, when I mean extra, above the landing cost, which is caused by the instability of the forex market. So the NNPC have not made any statement apart from yesterday, but they said they have come out to cry that they need the federal government to come to their rescue because they will get to the situation where they are going to spend their entire profit for the year ending of 2023 to solve this poor problem, and they might not be making profit. Remember that the NNPC is now a public company, limited liability company, and not just operating as a national oil company. But citizens are hoping that whatever it is, that the government needs to take a decisive action, considering the fact that the president and commander-in-chief is the Minister of Petroleum.
All right, Amadine Oyi, thank you so much for giving us update from the FCT. And of course, we'll be looking to you to see what the situation is subsequently. Now we'll be going back to Lagos, where our correspondent Bernard Akede is still on standby to feel the pulse of the residents and to tell us how the scarcity has affected a lot of people, especially motorists. Bernard, good afternoon once again. If you can hear me, where exactly in the city are you, and what is the latest on the scarcity of the premium motor spirit?
Thank you for having me, Blessings. I'm in Lagos, as you did mention. I'm around Bagada area. Well, concerning what the issue is or what the situation is, that's about a queue that is, from my calculations, longer than 2 kilometers long. And we've been seeing that, in different places across the state. Now, what used to operate was in stations where the price is low, you get queues as long as this. Unfortunately, now you get queues like this regardless of what the price is, because premium motor spirit, as we call it, or petrol, is unavailable. And now there are rumors that the prices may go up. A gentleman I spoke to earlier said the NNPCL mega stations, which used to sell for 568 naira, may have taken their price up. We can't confirm that just yet, but it does look like some fuel stations have stopped selling on speculation that the price may go up. Now, I did mention that this queue is more than 2 kilometers long. The interesting thing is that these people claim that they've been here since yesterday night. However, the fuel station is not even selling. So just as you see in many places, there are long queues with people just anticipating that at some point, the fuel stations will open and begin to sell. Now, this is the petrol station where we are. As you can see, there is nobody inside, just the staff. They are not selling petrol. However, there's been a queue here that has been, according to some, they've been here since about 10 p.m. last night.
Right, and there's no telling that the situation has affected a lot of people. Like I said earlier, that people now have to choose between going to work and, of course, queuing for fuel. But I want to ask Bernard, we see a lot of black marketers as well selling, and I want to know if there is any loggerheads between the black marketers and those selling in the stations, especially regarding the price, because we hear that in some parts of the country, black marketers are selling at cheaper rates. Is that the same situation in Lagos? And what is the relationship between themselves and those selling in the station?
Well, I can't confirm that black marketers are selling at cheaper rates. Now, there are some fuel stations that have refused to sell to people carrying kegs and jerry cans, and that's because
they claim that these people with jerry cans and kegs are the ones who go and sell at black market prices. However, there are those who still sell to jerry cans carriers, because of course we know the situation of Nigeria. People have to pour petrol in their generators, so whether we like it or not, we'll buy in those kegs. Now, in those fuel stations, we have seen cases where just opposite the fuel station, you have people selling at black market prices. And then when you ask, oh, is your petrol good? They confirm to you, ironically, and say, oh, we bought it from the fuel station, so it's original petrol. And then they tell you how much they bought it from there and why they're selling at the same price. I'll give you a quick example. On Saturday, the cab I took, the person was selling at the rate of 1,500 naira per litre, while the fuel station was selling for 618 per litre. And he confirmed that he bought it originally from the fuel station. So yeah, you have black marketers on one side and you have the fuel stations on one side. People will patronize the black marketers when they either cannot stay on the queue for long, or when the fuel stations basically are just not selling. But before I exhaust my time, I want to give you a feel of how frustrated the people are right now. Now, I have a group of people who have been standing here, and there's this gentleman who wants to speak to us to tell us how long he's been here. Please come forward. Please tell us your name and how long you've been here for.
My name is Victor Durojaye. I've been here since 5 o'clock trying to buy fuel. And suddenly they just changed the price of the fuel. Just like that.
How much were they selling when you got here, and how much have they changed?
They are selling 620 per litre. So now we don't know how much, but it will either be 1,000 plus or something. And now everybody they verse, everybody they para. This country is becoming something else. I'm telling the youth now, everybody they verse, no joy.
If eventually the price changes, how is this change of price going to affect you?
It's going to affect me because I'm a commercial driver. How much will I carry passengers? If I get fuel of 1,250 per litre, how much will I carry Oshodi to my 2? Nobody go enter. Nobody go enter. We see here. I don't plan for this job.
That's the reality on ground now, and there are more than there's a group of people all seated here. I'll see if I can take just one more person. Good afternoon, sir. Tell us your name and how long you.
My name is Tunde. I'm calling out from Oshodi Bagada. We are here yesterday for issue of this fuel. So they were selling the fuel automatically. They have information that NNPCL have increased their own price. So that's okay. Let them say other one inside. So let them find solution. At the end of the day, now after they say finish, they could not answer us again. They now lock everything up now. And all of us are the outside there. You understand me? We have been suffering. Let federal government find solution of this problem. Some people are here 2 days. They're not even buy. For me, since yesterday, this is my new car. You understand me? This is where I'm working. Can you imagine? I wake up early in the morning to come and queue here. Up till now, they do not sell fuel for me. The federal government to find the solution.
Well, blessings, that's just a sample of what the people have been saying around here. There's so many of them who want to speak. We can't take all that time, but this is the complaint they're having. So we still can't confirm if what they're saying is true, if there are signs that the price would go up or not. However, all they have to hold on to is hope. And that's why you see this long queue here, regardless of the fact that the fuel station behind me is not selling.
All right, thank you so much, Bernard Akedi. And of course, the frustration is palpable. Thank you for giving us the update. We'll definitely come back to you for more updates. But in the meantime, it's time to go on a break. And when the news returns, Right Group says continued detention of #EndBadGovernance protesters is a mockery of the rule of law. That's after the break. Join us again. The police force has taken Isaac Bristol, alleged to be Pidom, from his cell for court arraignment. Now, Pidom is an anonymous whistleblower on X.com with the handle 99% oppressed, who tweets as #PidomNigeria, was arrested on August 5th, 2024 in his hotel room in Rivers State. Justice Emeka Nwite is presiding over the case. By 8:02 a.m. local time on Tuesday, Bristol was preparing to join officers from the Force Criminal Investigation and Intelligence Department, FCID, for his court appearance in Abuja. According to a court file seen by journalists, Pidom faces 9 charges, including mobilizing support to pressure the government through protests, making false money laundering allegations against the president, Bola Tinubu, and illegally handling classified documents. He's also accused of money laundering and tampering with evidence by destroying his phone. Some more stories. In the meantime, the Nigeria Institute of Social Media Analysts has called for the responsible use of social media by citizens, saying that it can help combat fake news. This was during the second induction ceremony of the Institute in the nation's capital, Abuja, where the president of the Institute tasked citizens to use social media as a force for good and to promote unity and national cohesion.
Citizens can benefit from what we're doing in different ways. Once we're able to grow social media users who are responsible in the way they use the social media handles and the way they consume the social media handles, the entire society will be better off for it. And so we'll be continuously organizing trainings and retraining, not just for our members, but also for members of...
Now, the Kebbi State Governor, Comrade Dr. Nasir Idris Karan Gwandu, has sworn in the newly elected 21 local government chairmen in Kebbi State. The new chairman, vice chairman, and their councillors were elected into their respective offices during the local government elections held on the 31st of August across Kebbi State. Speaking shortly after the swearing-in ceremony at the Presidential Lodge in Berlin, Kebbi on Monday, Governor Idris charged them to be transparent to their people at the grassroots level. He urged them to operate an open-door policy in the discharge of their constitutional responsibilities. Now, the Nigerian Police have declared British national Andrew Wynne, also known as Andrew Povich, and Nigerian Lucky Obiyan wanted, placing a 10 million naira bounty on each for their arrest. Both are accused of plotting to overthrow the government. Police spokesman ACP Muyiwa Adejobi claims Wynne established a network of sleeper cells aimed at toppling the government, including renting space at the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC headquarters to cover his activities. Now, Adejobi alleges Wynne funneled billions of naira to Nigerian collaborators to incite violent attacks on police and military facilities. Labour leader Joe Ajaero, previously questioned over his ties to Wynne, has been re-invited for further questioning. The suspects are believed to have fled the country.
He mobilized and deployed several billions of naira to his Nigerian collaborators, urging them to mobilize the public to violently storm police facilities and military barracks, anticipating a bloodbath. Since the commencement of investigations, Andrew Wynne has fled the country. He and one of his local coordinators, one Lucky Obiyan, have accordingly been declared wanted, and global hunting for them has commenced in connection with this investigation. The 10 other suspects already apprehended have been arraigned before a competent court of law today.
Now, Amnesty International has condemned the planned mass trial of hundreds of protesters arrested during the nationwide #EndBadGovernance protests held between August 1st to 10th, 2024. Now, a statement issued by the country director of Amnesty International Nigeria, Isa Sanusi, criticized the Nigerian government's handling of the situation, accusing the government of unrelenting efforts to demonize protests. Similarly, the Coalition of Democratic Accountability and Electoral Reform, CODA, described the detention of protesters as a blatant violation of their fundamental human rights and a clear attempt to silence dissenting voices. The national chairman of CODA, Chief Peter Ame, urged the administration to address the systemic issues that led to their protest, including corruption, inequality, and social injustice. To discuss this, we're now joined by legal practitioner and public affairs analyst Taiwo Ojumo. Thank you so much, Taiwo, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Taiwo, we would like to hear your thoughts on the trial of the 10 NBAD-governance protesters who were charged for crimes like treason, conspiring to destabilize the country, intimidating the president. What would you make of those charges?
Yes, first and foremost, I must say that this development is a very sad one for democracy. It's also a very sad one for civilian government, because these are some of the things, suppression, repression, silencing, dissenting voices are some of the features that characterize military government. And that's exactly why many people do not like, that's why military governments are never popular, because of instances like this. But this happening in a democratic society, in a civilian government, is something that calls for serious attention. But then again, I've always advocated that. I mean, I've always emphasized that there's a thin line between peaceful protests and the commission of crime, and that's why I always say that there's a need for some of us and people generally, and especially the media, to educate prospective protesters on where to draw the line when you are when you want to embark on protests. For instance, now if you look through the charges against this gentleman, the first thing is that I understand that it didn't even happen in the course of the protest. These charges were events that took place between the 1st of July and 4th of July, from what we saw in the charges. If those allegations are true, I mean, I don't know the veracity or otherwise of those allegations, but if they are true, they are definitely very serious ones. Because saying that, alleging that these guys conspired with a foreigner to take over government is not a protest. That is something else. Like I said again, there's a need for the media and some elites in Nigeria to educate prospective protesters on what constitutes a crime. I mean, on the thin line there is this between peaceful protest and crime like treason and mutiny.
So, talking about the thin line, I want to believe that there are specific elements that must be proven under the applicable jurisdiction's definition of treason, because it feels as though we're just throwing the word around. And you said something about it being a sad one for the democracy of the country. So, what are these elements that need to be put into consideration before an action is considered treason?
Yes, like I was saying earlier, we do not know we do not know the gravity of the evidences the federal government has against these 10 persons. But some of the elements that constitute treason will be that the accused person actually sat and conspired or did something in betrayal of the government, or something that suggested that there's a plan, an attempt, or the commission of such crime to actually topple a government, a democratically elected government, or selling if it can be established that these guys actually sold information, revealed government information with the end aim of trying to topple a government that was democratically elected. Then those are some of the elements of treason. And then I also understand that in the course of the protest, that some of these guys shouted that the military should come and take over. Inviting the military to come and take over a democratically elected government is also a very serious crime, which falls under mutiny. I think that should be section 69 of the penal code. Now, the thing is, these elements have not been proven because the case just they were just arraigned yesterday, and so the proceeding days will reveal some of these elements. We do not know exactly the gravity of what the government has against these guys, but unless and until these elements are established and there's a nexus between the commission of this crime and the accused persons, that is when the court can now safely say that these guys have committed a crime. Unless and until that happens, it remains merely an allegation.
Right. Very quickly, I want to give you a hint of what people are saying on the streets. Now, this is the breakdown. Protesters are arrested and tagged and charged with treason. Apprehended terrorists are rehabilitated. Bandits are negotiated with. What do you make of that?
Like I said, that's why I began my statement with, my opening remark with saying that it's a very sad development for democracy and civilian government. It shows some level of hypocrisy, and this exactly is what we've been saying. That, for instance, now, if ideally, if citizens of a country have been seen or have been accused of committing a crime, people should actually give the government some level of doubt. Reasonable some level of confidence. But the fact that the same government in one breath will pardon and rehabilitate hardened criminals, the same government will not turn around the next day and then accuse people who are only asking for their right, asking for what the guys are asking for are not things that are too much. They're asking for good governance. They're asking for better, for monetary and fiscal policies. These are not too big things to ask. In a very high society, these are things that come naturally. These things go without saying. So it is the hypocrisy of the government sometimes that makes these issues such a big deal that they are, because you cannot in one breath be pardoning those who have been accused, who have been established to be hardened criminals on one breath, and then in the other breath you are now making a big case out of those who went out peacefully protesting. Like I said again, we do not know the gravity of the evidence the government has against these guys, but I think that I've said it here before, that if you could get very, 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 lawyers, human rights activists and lawyers who have track records of honesty, and lawyers who know their onions, I think this case is going to be a walk in the park for the accused persons.
Right, legal practitioner and public affairs analyst Taiwo Jumo, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this. And of course, we'll be looking forward to seeing how it unfolds.
All right, thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. Now to more stories. Women are increasingly becoming central figures in Nigeria's economic transformation. With a wave of entrepreneurship and their inclusion in small business startups, they are making significant impact in the country. However, with a crippling economy and low support, their efforts seem not to be enough. News Central's Chidima Ona shares more details.
Business startups are one of the major drivers of the growth of any country. A survey conducted by Global Entrepreneurship Monitor in 2022 shows that 41% of early-stage businesses are run by females, as opposed to 39% of males. Despite these encouraging statistics, the business terrain isn't a bed of roses. Mrs. Michael, a small business owner, narrates her current situation as a business owner.
A lot of people are complaining because of the high rate of goods. Unlike before, like school wants to resume now, you will see a crowd, people, at least as we are talking, you see like 3-4 people pricing, buying and all that now. If it's before, I will have furnished everywhere to my own taste. You can see half of the shop, I'm not able to furnish it due to the lack of sales. Sales is very, very poor.
In Nigeria today, female business owners who run their businesses online also face certain disruptions and barriers in running their businesses. They speak on strategies needed to support female entrepreneurs in the country.
It's one thing to give people money and loans and grants, but if they don't know how to manage it, if they don't know how to put their money into the right spaces for it to multiply and grow, then it's just a waste of time, it's just a waste of effort. There needs to be systems put in place where other women can get mentorship from other women doing well, as well as, spreading as much knowledge as possible on, financial management.
The empowerment of Nigerian women is not only beneficial for individual women, but also for the broader economy. Economists say that when women are economically empowered, they invest more in their families and communities.
From a demographic point of view, we have more women than men. So it follows that the more women are empowered, the greater their impact on the economy by virtue of their numbers. Women are generally more connected to the family ecosystem. So economic empowerment of women has a much bigger trickle-down effect.
As Nigeria continues to develop, the empowerment of women is becoming increasingly important. By supporting their entrepreneurial drive and financial independence, the nation can create a more equitable and prosperous future for all its citizens. In Lagos for News Central, Chidima Ona.
Many thanks for staying with us. Now, the news continues in Central Africa, where 5 civilians and 5 soldiers of the Democratic Republic of Congo's army were killed in an attack on a bar in a troubled northeastern region. Military and local sources said weapons-wielding assailants had burst into the bar in the town of Nizi, 20 kilometers north of the regional capital, Bunia, late on Sunday. And long plagued by violence, Ituri province is the scene of a conflict between rival ethnic militias, which has led to the deaths of thousands of civilians and massive population displacement. Intercommunal violence killed thousands in gold-rich Ituri from 1999 to 2003, until an intervention by European forces restored calm. The conflict erupted again in 2017, resulting in thousands more deaths and the mass displacement of residents. And now in South Africa, a bus carrying 42 passengers, including farm workers, plunged off a remote South African mountain pass, killing at least 9 people and injuring 16. According to the head of communication for the Western Cape Province Mobility Department, the bus crashed through an embankment on Van Rhyns Pass, about 340 kilometers north of Cape Town, on Monday evening. The accident comes after a bloody weekend on South Africa's roads, with more than 24 people killed in several traffic accidents. Thanks for staying with us now. U.S. President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris campaigned together for the first time on Monday in a public display of teamwork after she replaced him as candidate and revived Democratic election hopes. Seeking to attract voters in the key battleground state of Pennsylvania, the pair met union members in the Pittsburgh before standing side by side to speak to about 600 supporters. Now, Biden repeatedly name-checked Vice President Harris, who is in a close race to beat Donald Trump to the White House on the 5th of November. The Labor Day event at the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Union underlined how Biden will play a role in the campaign in the final months before the vote. Authorities and United Nations agencies began a large-scale campaign of vaccinations against polio in the Gaza Strip, with hopes to prevent an outbreak in the territory that has been ravaged by the Israel-Hamas war. The campaign began with a small number of vaccinations on Saturday and aims to reach about 640,000 children. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has said Israel agreed to limited pauses in the fighting to facilitate the campaign. However, Israeli military striked in central Gaza early on Sunday. The vaccination program is set to continue through September 9 and last 8 hours a day. Now to discuss this, we're joined by Mohammed Mugaiseb, health personnel. He joins us live from Gaza, Palestine. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for joining us. All right, Mohammed, if you can hear me, what is the current situation or the status of the polio vaccination campaign in Gaza as we speak? How many children have been vaccinated recently?
That it went well, I think, in the couple of 2 days now. This is the 3rd day of the campaign. More than 150,000 children under 10 years old have been vaccinated. I think they will finish the campaign in the middle area. They will start more southern of Gaza City. It means Khan Yunis al-Rafah area. I hope that things will continue calm during the vaccination time. Still, there is airstrikes, there is bombing, but or near the post of vaccination, it's quiet.
Right. Speaking of the vaccination, what specific challenges are you encountering when it comes to implementing this polio vaccination program amid the ongoing conflict? Because there are 2 battles now, the health challenge and, of course, the war that is going on.
It was a big challenge for all the actors, mainly WHO, the health authorities in Gaza, to launch this campaign. It took a few weeks to have the permission from the Israeli side to get in the vaccines. Logistically, it's a big as well challenge. All the infrastructure has been destroyed. Majority of the clinics and hospitals has been partially destroyed. So to find a medical post ready to vaccinate, it was a huge challenge. Finally, the campaign started. I think people are as well really are encouraged to get their kids vaccinated. And this shows that the population really wants to have peaceful life. And, it's a very difficult situation, as you mentioned, since the last 320 days of war.
Right. Talking about accessibility, we understand that some of the areas are particularly difficult to reach because of this war. But how have the access to the different communities been affected by the conflict? And what are these areas that are hard to reach this period?
I mean, all Gaza Strip are very difficult to access now. I mean, accessibility is one of the huge concerns for all medical actors. There is no proper transportation. There is no infrastructure roads. The hospitals and the centers are partially destroyed, not functioning. Gaza cut is in two parts or in 3 parts sometimes. So the population is really, the accessibility is very difficult. I mean, people are using traditional transportation methods to reach other areas or to walk. I mean, the situation is not very easy, but I mean, the population trying their best as well to be treated and to seek medical care.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, Mohammed Mugaisib, health personnel, and giving us a little bit insight into what's going on currently. Thank you once again for your thoughts. Football's training camp has seen a boost with the recent arrivals of Alex Iwobi, Frank Onyeka, and Calvin Bassey. Their inclusion brings the total number of players in camp to 14, intensifying preparations as the team gears up for upcoming AFCON qualifying fixture against Rwanda in Uyo. Iwobi, a key midfielder known for his playmaking abilities, Onyeka, a dynamic presence in the midfield, and Bassey, a versatile defender, add significant depth and experience to the squad. Their arrival is expected to enhance the team's dynamics and contribute to a more robust training environment for the Super Eagles. The integration of these players is anticipated to play a crucial role in the team's performance in the forthcoming matches against Rwanda and Benin. Still in sport, the Nigeria Premier Football League, NPFL, has announced that Beyond Limits Football Academy will not compete in the 2024-2025 season due to conflicts of interest. Beyond Limits is linked to Remo Stars, another NPFL team which violates Rule B114 of the NPFL framework and rules. Consequently, Beyond Limits slot has been reassigned to Heartland FC, the sole relegated team to express interest. This decision follows Rule A5.2 regarding club participation criteria. NPFL officials confirmed that no slot buying transaction occurred, as such practices are banned under NPFL regulations. Still speaking on the NPFL, Ikorodu City FC has announced the signing of striker Tony Obiyan from SKE Football Club of Port Harcourt. Obiyan, who had an outstanding season with Inter Lagos last year, netting 15 goals and providing 12 assists in 27 matches, will now bring his goal-scoring prowess to Ikorodu City. His remarkable performance saw him finish as the top scorer and assist leader for Inter Lagos, making him a key acquisition for Ikorodu City as they prepare for their debut season in the Nigeria Premier Football League, NPFL. Obiyan has signed a 1-year contract and is expected to play a crucial role under head coach Bright Ozebagbe. Now, still in sports, on day 5 of the 2024 Paralympic Games in Paris, Nigeria celebrated its first medal as Eniola Bolaji claimed bronze in the women's para-badminton singles SL3 by defeating Ukraine's Oksana Kozina in straight sets 2-0. Bolaji made history as the first African to win a badminton medal at the Paralympics or Olympics and the only Nigerian to medal in badminton at this level. In para-athletics, Flora Ogunwa, the Rio 2016 gold medalist, finished 7th in the women's shot, put F54 with a throw of 6.72. She aims for her 3rd consecutive goal in the javelin F54 later in the games. In para-table tennis, Kayode Alabi advanced to the men's singles Class 6 quarterfinals, and Iso Ogunkunle also progressed, winning his Class 4 round of 16 match. However, Bolawa Akingbemisilu narrowly missed the quarterfinals in Class 5, losing 3-2 to Brazil's Lucas Arabian in a close match. Today, Adesope Abiola Wali will compete in the para-table tennis men's single MS9, Kayode Alabi men's single MS6, and Christiana Alabi in women's singles MS5. And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. Now, we told you that hope rises for Nigeria's fuel supply issues as Dangote Refinery presents first samples. We also mentioned that Nigerian Police places 20 million naira bounty on Britain, Nigerian in crackdown on end bad governance protest sponsors. And finally, we mentioned that militia kills 10 after attack on bar in Ituri, DR Congo. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Also, to also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, StarTimes, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Mosugu.